because it's not about learning more rules or trying harder. It's about healing, acknowledging, and accepting what's been keeping you stuck all along, which isn't knowing more, but it's actually about feeling more.
Welcome to Talkin' Shit, the podcast where we get real about the unfiltered truths women face in the quest for perfection. I'm Jana, your host, a dietitian and fellow woman navigating the pressure to have it all together. The perfect body, career, relationships, and making it all look effortless. Who set that standard anyway? Here, we're calling out the diet fads, hustle culture, beauty standards, and everything else that keeps us feeling stuck. But we're not just venting, we're diving into how to break free and rewrite the rules on your terms. So grab a coffee or a glass of wine and let's talk some shit. Together, we'll uncover how to live a life that's unapologetically yours. This is Talkin' Shit. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to this week's podcast. I'm really excited about this topic because it's something that a lot of women and men have shared with me that they struggle with. This idea that you know what to do, you just don't do it. So you know vegetables are better than chips. You know you should probably move your body more, get more sleep, and drink that water. You've read the blogs, you've watched the videos, and maybe you've even worked with professionals before. And yet, why does it still feel so hard to stay consistent and follow through? Why does it feel like no matter how much you know, you just can't seem to do it and do it consistently? That's what we're diving into today. If you've ever felt frustrated or stuck or ashamed of saying like, you know what to do, but you just don't do it, then this episode is for you. Hey friend, quick question before we dive into today's episode. Does dinner stress you out more than it should? Because if you're like most women I talk to, figuring out what to make every single night feels like another full-time job. So if you're tired of the daily what's for dinner stress, I've got something just for you. I've created the What's for Dinner guide with 50 quick, healthy, and blood sugar friendly recipes that are perfect whether you're cooking for yourself or your whole family. No more second guessing, no more last minute takeout. Just real food made simple. Grab your copy for just $9, click the link in the show notes, and make dinner the easiest part of your day. All right, now I'm back to the episode. But seriously, don't wait. Your weeknight sanity will thank you. So let's take a moment and just name it. Knowing what to do isn't enough to change your life. I say this often. You can't think your way into change. You have to act your way into change. Yet we really live in this world that glorifies more knowledge. So more books, more information, more tips and tricks. But can we just be honest for a second? How many TikTok videos or Instagram reels have you watched? Maybe you've shared with your friends or family and you've said, I'm totally going to try this. And then you never actually do try it. If knowledge was all that it took, we would all be living these healthy, happy, and thriving lives. But the real reason knowing isn't enough is it doesn't actually address what's going on below the surface. So let me give you some examples. You know you should meal prep, but every Sunday you feel overwhelmed and exhausted and can't get yourself to do it. Or you know going for a walk would make you feel better, but you feel paralyzed by stress, or if you're going to be doing it right, and you end up just scrolling and sitting on the couch instead. You know you shouldn't finish the bag of chips, but it feels impossible to stop when you're emotional or stressed. And besides, they taste so good. So knowledge is logical, but humans, we are emotional. We are driven by our habits, stress, self-talk, and mindset patterns that no matter how much we know, we can't override this emotional part of us. So when you beat yourself up for not doing what you know you should, you're ignoring the fact that there's so much more at play than just willpower. So let's talk about that a little bit more. Here's what's really standing between knowing and doing. We need to shift you out of knowing what to do and into actually believing you're capable of doing it. Here's what I mean by this. You already know you should eat healthier and exercise. That's not the problem. We've already identified you know this, right? The problem is actually how you feel about it. So deep down, you may feel like a failure, that every time you've tried a diet, it worked, but only for a little while. You lose some weight only to gain it back and maybe plus more. Now you feel exhausted, burned out, and honestly, you're over it. You hate that weight is still something you're struggling with, and you're tired of carrying that shame that comes with feeling like nothing you do ever sticks. Do you see the difference here? Knowing one thing versus feeling another thing is why you may feel stuck in your own journey. This has nothing to do with motivation. It has nothing to do with willpower. What it really has to do with is maybe the anger, the resentment, the disappointment, and the sheer exhaustion you feel at the thought of putting yourself through yet another diet one more time. So until we actually acknowledge and talk about the real thing, the emotional weight that you're carrying around this, we can't change the thing itself because we haven't truly identified what's really going on. This is why I always say if we feel stuck, then we're not actually setting the right goal. We have to talk about the emotional part of what you feel, not what you know. Because it's not about learning more rules or trying harder. It's about healing, acknowledging, and accepting what's been keeping you stuck all along, which isn't knowing more, but it's actually about feeling more. So here are some examples I see all the time that prevent change from happening. One is this all or nothing thinking. You feel like if you can't do it perfectly, it's not worth doing it at all. So one slip up and you think you've blown it, which makes you quit completely. Number two is overwhelm and burnout. So you are already stretched so thin in other areas of your life that even small changes feel like too much. It feels too hard. Number three is a lack of emotional regulation. So you've used food or avoidance to cope with stress, loneliness, or exhaustion for a very long time. And it just feels very automatic. It's what you know to do, actually. Number four, I think this is a really big one, is low self-belief. So deep down, you don't actually believe you can change. So even when you try, it feels temporary. I hear this one a lot is, well, yeah, I'll do good on a diet for a certain amount of time, but I always go back to my old ways. That tells me that you don't actually believe in a different way, in a different approach, and that you can live a different narrative in your own story. And the last one, this is also a really big one, is that you have no support or accountability. So trying to change in isolation usually does not work and is super tough because when it gets hard, no one is there to remind you why you started, or no one's even there to give you credit for the stuff that you've done. We just get stuck in our own mental thoughts that loop and loop and loop and aren't really progressive in nature. And so you try to think that, oh, you should just get your shit together and you'll be fine. And the reality is that you actually just need to ask for help or support. So these are the things that no meal plan, no checklist, no what to eat guide is ever going to solve on its own. So if this is really resonating, this is where you don't need one more diet plan. We have to dive into the deeper layers to what is really preventing you from getting the results that you say you want for your life. So how do you actually close this gap between the knowing and the doing? Here are some strategies that I like to use and teach. I use them with myself. I use them with my coaching clients. These are the strategies. These are 3 of them that you can start implementing in your own routine if you're really resonating with this podcast today. Number one is start smaller. Yes, start smaller. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Start with one thing. Maybe it's a 10-minute walk, or maybe it's adding one vegetable to dinner. The more that you start small, the more that you actually get into action. So I have a saying, I would rather see you be the overachiever than the failure. We can always set the bar low. You can accomplish that. And if you want to do more, you can always do more. And then you become the overachiever. But if we set the bar too high, you're not able to achieve that. Well, then now, one, we don't have any motion forward. And two, you continue to feel like a failure. So there are no such things as small goals because each goal is there to move you forward and gives us more information. So if you find yourself stuck, maybe your goal is too big and we want to break that down even further for you to get into action. Number two is focus on consistency, not perfection. So progress comes from showing up, even imperfectly. A 70% effort over 7 days beats 100% effort over 2 days a week. So again, lower the bar for yourself. If you find that you're not doing the thing, then how can we modify it so that it actually becomes something that feels doable and realistic in your lifestyle? And then we focus on practicing that on repeat, instead of feeling like you have to be perfect, because that typically keeps you in inaction. The next one is work on your self-talk. So instead of saying, I'll never get this, we want to shift to, I'm learning how to do this. So my expectation as a coach and as someone that is calling you to this next level of your health, my expectation is not for you to be perfect with this. It's not for you to get it right the first time out of the gate. It's for my expectation for you is to practice this, just like we would with an infant that's learning to walk for the first time, right? Like as you're starting to do this, it's going to be a little shaky. You're probably going to fall down. You might scuff your knees a little bit, but we keep doing it until you are able to create the stride that works for your life. So again, instead of saying, I'll never get this, we want to shift to, I'm learning how to do this. Your brain listens to what you say about yourself. And that goes into that idea of believing that you actually have the ability to change. Then we look at building that emotional resilience. So learn to sit with discomfort, with stress, or with a craving without immediately numbing with food or checking out. This is a skill that you can build. This is something that I teach a lot in my coaching programs because what we're looking for is you to build that resilience, you to build that capacity to know that you can sit with this discomfort, you can sit with this emotion, you can sit with this stress, you can sit with this food craving, and you don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to go to food, you don't have to go to alcohol, you don't have to go to a drug, you don't have to go to anything in order for it to subside and for you to regulate yourself and to feel like you are actually in control. And the last one is a big one. So in this area, so I don't believe that we can change in isolation. I believe that we need community. I believe that we need support. I believe that we need help, all of us, because we have blind spots to our own behaviors. And sometimes we're not even aware that we're doing certain things. And so this is where support is so powerful. So whether it's a coach or a program or a friend who gets it, having someone in your corner can help you stay accountable and help you stay honest to you so that you don't feel so alone in this process. So here's what I want you to remember. The fact that you're still trying means you haven't given up on yourself. So keep doing this, right? Like this is a lifelong journey. This is not something that's a 90-day fiance situation, right? Like this is a lifelong journey. And that matters more than you actually realize, because the only time that you're truly a failure is that moment where you say, I quit, I'm no longer in the game. So to everyone listening who feels stuck in that space between knowing what to do and actually being able to do it, I want to remind you, you are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't lack discipline. You don't lack motivation. You just need a different approach, one that works with your mind, your emotions, and your real life, not your fantasy life, your real life. And that's exactly what my group coaching program is built around. We go beyond just the food to eat, and we work on the mindset and the habits and the emotional patterns that help you finally follow through. So if this resonated with you, check the links in the show notes to learn more about my group coaching program and see if it's the right fit for you. And remember, progress does not require perfection. We want to start small, show yourself grace, and keep showing up. Because in this community, the Health Wins with Jana community, we do the hard things, not with an expectation of perfection, but with the understanding that you are fully human. We support, we guide, and we empower women to step into higher, better standards of themselves, one imperfect step at a time. And of course, we talk some shit about what really matters most. So until our next episode, keep talking shit.